Most people imagine soldiers dying in firefights. Combat defines war, so combat must be what kills. But across nearly every major conflict before 1950, direct battle was never the primary cause of military death. Disease killed more soldiers than enemy fire in the Napoleonic Wars, the American Civil War, World War I, and most of World War II. This belief shaped how nations prepared for war and how long it took them to realize what was actually destroying their armies. In the Napoleonic Wars, typhus, dysentery, and typhoid killed 3 soldiers for every 1 killed in combat. Napoleon's 1812 invasion of Russia is remembered for the winter retreat, but disease had already gutted his army. Troops marched through contaminated water, lived in filth, and died in roadside ditches. By the time the Grande Armée crossed back into Europe, fewer than 1 in 10 deaths were from Russian bullets. The enemy didn't destroy Napoleon's force, the conditions did. The American Civil War recorded 620,000 deaths. Only 200,000 occurred in battle. Disease, dysentery, typhoid, measles, pneumonia claimed 420,000. Soldiers who survived Gettysburg died weeks later from fever in a camp. One Alabama regiment lost more men to diarrhea in a single summer than in a year of fighting. Commanders watched entire units vanish without facing Union fire. They knew what was happening. The belief persisted anyway. World War I introduced industrial slaughter, machine guns, artillery, poison gas. Even then, disease dominated. The 1918 flu pandemic killed more soldiers worldwide than 4 years of combat. Trench foot, gangrene, and infected wounds turned scratches into death sentences. Antibiotics didn't exist. Medics amputated and hoped. In some theaters, illness caused 60% of deaths. The trenches weren't just battlefields, they were incubators. World War II changed the ratio. Penicillin and battlefield medicine advanced, and combat deaths outnumbered disease deaths in some armies for the first time, but not everywhere. Malaria and dysentery killed thousands in the Pacific. Typhus and frostbite ravaged the Eastern Front. A soldier wounded in Normandy had better odds than one wounded at Gettysburg, but infection still killed. In less equipped armies, disease still won. World War II changed the ratio. Penicillin and battlefield medicine advanced, and combat deaths outnumbered disease deaths in some armies for the first time, but not everywhere. Malaria and dysentery killed thousands in the Pacific. Typhus and frostbite ravaged the Eastern Front. A soldier wounded in Normandy had better odds than one wounded at Gettysburg, but infection still killed. In less equipped armies, disease still won. This misunderstanding delayed critical reforms. Militaries spent centuries investing in weapons and tactics while ignoring sanitation and clean water. Even when commanders saw disease killing more men than bullets, resources flowed to firepower. The British Army's Boer War losses and the U.S. Army's Spanish-American War casualties, where disease killed 7 times more than combat, finally forced change, but only after tens of thousands of preventable deaths. The belief still lingers. People imagine soldiers falling in explosions, not burning with fever in a cot. This shapes how war is remembered and how the public understands its cost. Modern militaries now prioritize field medicine and disease prevention, but only because data eventually broke the myth. For most of history, armies assumed the enemy was the threat. The real killer was war itself, conditions, neglect, and the fact that men living in filth will die, whether or not a shot is fired. Most people still believe combat kills most soldiers. In modern warfare, with advanced medicine and rapid evacuation, that's closer to true. But for most of human history, it never was. Disease, infection, and exposure killed more than enemy fire in nearly every war before 1950. The myth shaped how war was fought, how soldiers were cared for, and how long it took to realize clean water could save more lives than another battery of guns. The enemy was never the greatest threat. Comment and subscribe.